The kitchen clock ticks in a loud, patient rhythm. A birthday cake sits on the island, shy frosting. Tonight is my birthday, finally, and I pretend calm. Megan laughs at the joke Henry cracks. Dad watches. Mom stays still, a statue of memory. Henry darts forward, clumsily shouts, and the cake spills. Frosting blooms across tile like a red map. The room breathes a sudden, sharp silence. Megan laughs again, louder this time, as if to prove something. Mom folds toward the sink, not looking at me. I inhale, pick up the plate shards, and begin. Frosting sticks under my fingernails like cheap glitter. I wipe, I sweep, I count the costs. Henry's eyes flick to mine, then away, seeking mercy. Megan's chuckle sits in the air like heat. Dad raises a brow, says nothing, and I hear history. The cake becomes a memory I must swallow. I set the mess aside, a ritual of service. Chairs squeak as we straighten, routines healing nothing. Henry clambers onto the counter again, asking for another slice. Megan refuses, sends him away with a shrug. I stand with a towel over the mess. Mother slides the faucet, a slow, faithful drip. The house narrows, candles cold, voices dim. Outside, the city hum blooms through the window. I rinse the sink, rinse my hands, breathe. I slide a ledger notebook from the shelf. Pages whisper names, debts, and small mercies. I underline lines with a careful finger. I pretend the ledger heals me, even now. A bank stamp image flits across memory. I imagine stamping finality on a bright envelope. That felt thing is a doorway for me. The door closes softly behind us, a clean boot tapping. I slip my feet into the car, shoes pristine. The engine sighs and the highway glows ahead. Street lamps flicker like coins in a well. I drive slowly, listening to frostbitten windows hum. The city's heartbeat becomes a metronome for resolve. My breath steadies, my hands stop trembling. The cake tried to flatten me. I stood. Not with rage, but with a cleaner yes. Silence on their side was always loud enough. Yet tonight I hear my own truth. Family is not a throne, it is a boundary. I pull off into the quiet street, alone. My reflection in the windshield returns with purpose. The ledger in my bag feels lighter. Not because debts vanish, but because I choose. Tomorrow will require more courage, less compromise. I switch on the blinker, merge toward a new dawn. The city widescreens ahead, a soft, rebellious glow. A final breath dances in my chest. I am not the cake, I am the boundary. The next scene will call for a different vow, but I am ready for whatever coming storm. I will keep the cake on the floor behind me. I will stamp no more excuses into my skin. I will walk with clean boots into the morning. A new balance hums beneath the tires. Ben may forget, but the lesson remains. It is mine to keep or break. I drive toward the promise of a quieter truth. The night folds around me, a sheltering veil. I will tell the ledger what it needs. Not guilt, but honest boundaries, written in quiet ink. The cake's shadow shrinks as the street lamps grow, and I feel the first true light. Tonight I trace years of quiet debt. I was the steady one, the keeper. Megan spiraled outward, chasing lights, deals, risk. Mom praised her charm, then handed me the bill. Dad watched softly, a rumor of regret in his eyes. The loans grew like winter vines. My name appeared on every statement. Ben asked about the moon while I signed. On the table I found a ledger notebook. I opened it slowly, ink steady as a pulse. Every loan, every reminder, every due date. I started to write what I refused to forget. Chores turned into charges, favors into debts. Breadcrumb honesty sifted through receipts. Mom called it responsibility. Dad called it common sense. Megan called it luck, nothing more. Inside me, the ledger hummed, a clock. I learned to clock every favor with a stamp. A real stamp, not the kind of praise. The bank stamp rested on the final balance. That day I felt it shift inside. Not cruelty, not malice, just a boundary. Boundaries rarely shout, they settle like dust. Yet this dust carried a name. Chloe, you can stop carrying us. Yes, I whispered to the notebook. I needed a way to count what I gave away. Turns out, counting changes the breath. Counting became a plan. We would see patterns. Patterns appeared in receipts and apologies. Megan would improvise. I would reconcile. Mom would praise the spark, then seek collateral. Dad would look away, the price hidden in his eyes. Ben, innocent, watched the whole theater. On his birthday, the lie was obvious. Flowers died soft, like the cake. Truth softened under our smiles, then broke. I kept the ledger open, because I wanted to know where the weight lands. Later, in quiet hours, I listened for patterns. People spoke softly of generosity, but the ledger refused softness. Meanwhile, the bills piled higher. Shared loans swallowed my paycheck. Every night I counted the numbers, not the prayers. This was not chaos, it was a map. Ben smiled, asking about the world. I felt a tug toward independence. And then the cake memory returned to cling. Not to hurt, but to warn. That day, I decided to keep score. I would not be the clean bottle on the shelf, or the rental broom sweeping up others' messes. Instead, I would write the receipts. With every line, I spoke the truth. Truth paid attention to what love required. Love demanded boundaries, not martyrdom. On that birthday day, the balance tilted. Megan grinned, unseeing. Mom clapped, proud. Dad nodded as if forgiveness rested in him. Ben clapped too, not understanding but sensing change. Then a line on the ledger glowed. It was the stamp saying closed, not on the page, but on my future. I felt the room warm, with relief and fear. Relief because I saw a path. Fear because the path began alone. All at once the birthday party looked different. I was no longer owed by the cake. The table held a new centerpiece, a notebook. I touched it, and a quiet vow rose. I would log, not lament, and I would keep the books. Tonight the weight felt lighter, even tender. I did not erase love, I defined it. The quiet highway waited beyond the door. On the way out, I did not run. I walked toward the bus, toward a different address. Not abandonment, but a chosen distance. Liberation through clarity begins now. Perhaps a new life could begin with a clean boot, not cruelty, self-respect, finally rescuing me. The road ahead would be mine to walk. I step into the night, ledger clutched. Silence followed us, not peace, as we drove home. Headlights painted stripes on the winter street. I kept a tally of apologies, muting them. Megan kept talking about plans. I listened, planless. Mom talked about generosity as if it were glue. Dad asked for patience, as if time fixed everything. Ben clung to me, a small anchor. I felt the weight return, yet lighter. Not relief alone, but relief with a plan. That plan began with ink and receipts. Finally, I could tell him we mattered. That was the first quiet victory. Not loud, but loud enough for me. To breathe again, to spend wisely, to walk the path that did not betray. The road ahead would be mine to walk. I step into the night, ledger clutched. I step into the bank. The air smells like ink and metal. Fluorescents throw pale halos on tile. My breath steadies. The lobby hums with quiet. A teller lifts her eyes, cautious but kind. I keep my hands on my tote. I tell the clerk I am here to clear my name. Not loud, just clear. The file slides toward me. My name is dark on the page. There are many loans, too many lifetimes bound. I sign, I initial, I verify. The pen is honest wood. The stamp is cold metal. The stamp lands with a dull clack. Ink blooms on paper. My name leaves the ledger. The sound rings in my ears. Old life tugs at me, but I refuse. The stamp repeats, patient, final. I hold my breath. The door latch rattles in the distance. The clerk stamps again, for good measure. The window sighs. The deed is done. I am free of numbers that held me down. The bank feels lighter, or maybe I am heavier with relief. I walk away from the teller line. Steps even. I carry the silence like a shield. A reflection in a glass panel catches my eye. The woman looking back is steady. The jacket fits. The eyes are calm and bright. The fear still flickers in corners, but small now. Street sounds arrive. A car, a dog, a distant siren. The world moves, even if I do not. Homecoming is a sting of warmth. The living room glows with lamplight. Megan sits on the couch, loud and quick. Her smile is too bright, a weather vane chasing trouble. She leans toward me, bait on the line. Megan mocks her resolve. You think this changes things? You think the bank stamp makes you different? You think you own a future now? Family means you borrow and forgive and forget. You are pretending. The old fear pricks at my neck, a familiar itch. The voice inside me begs to retreat. I stand taller, not above, just steadier. The ledger sits in my coat pocket, a quiet weight. It has replaced guilt with clarity. Mom speaks, soft but sharp. You are pushing us away. If you walk out, there is no turning back. No meals, no safety net, no forgiveness. Taxile would be easier for you than this truth. Dad shifts in his chair. He looks between us, torn and tired. He does not speak much, but his silence weighs heavy, a request for peace that never comes. Megan laughs again, hollow and loud. The line is done, the charade will end. There is no warmth, only a storm in the kitchen light. I feel the old guilt gnawing again, and I give it no power. I tell them the truth, calm and clear. I am not your debt. I am not your fixer. I am not your caretaker. You do not own my time or my future. I choose to live, here, now, on my own terms. The room tightens, the chandelier hums, long shadows slide along the walls. Megan mocks once more, but the heat is gone. This is a performance I no longer attend. The stage trembles because I am in it, and the spotlight is mine. Mom leans in, soft but deliberate. If you walk away, there is no turning back. Exile would be real, but so would my breathing, my choice, my life. I do not answer with anger. I answer with boundary. Dad inhales, then exhales, a sigh of old regrets. He waits. He wants the old comfort, the old script, the old family. He cannot have it, not if I demand more. He says nothing, and his silence is a quiet prayer for something different. Megan shrugs, a practiced shrug that says no real charge. The room hushes. I gather my courage and step toward the door. I do not yell. I do not plead. I speak with the simplest truth I know. I am not here to take from you. I am here to take care of me. The words fall, soft but firm, and they change the air between us. I take the first step toward the hall. The lights flicker once, a small breath of warning. The hall opens to the stairs and the front door. The latch clicks, a final, stubborn sound. It echoes in the room and in me. I pause at the threshold. The house behind me recedes a little, a map folding away. The street beyond waits, quiet and wide. The engine of a distant car purrs, as if inviting me toward a new mile. The door behind me seems to close, not on me, but on a version of myself I am ready to leave behind. My shoes touch the ground softly, and I lift my face to the night air. The breeze brushes my cheek, cool and honest. The night feels different, cleaner somehow. The world is not a trap, but a possibility. I am not alone. The ledger's weight is still there, but it is no longer a chain. It is a guide. I step onto the sidewalk, the world widening before me. The road ahead looks like a quiet highway, a ribbon of possibility. The last light of day glints on the asphalt. I draw in a long breath and let it go slowly. I am not reckless. I am not reckless. I am deliberate. I walk toward the nearest streetlight, then beyond it, into the first stretch of dark. The sense of space grows around me. My heartbeat finds its own rhythm, not the room's. The bank stamp, the latch, the old life, their sounds fade behind me. A new sound rises, my own careful steps, clear and true. The scene ends on a note of quiet resolve. The phrase in my chest is not a shout, but a decision. The road ahead is mine to walk. The next scene will tell how I begin to build, piece by piece, what I refuse to break again. And in that future, I will keep telling the truth, even when the truth hurts. The font of my freedom is not loud, it is steady, it is mine, it is just beginning. I wake to a quiet apartment and a soft glow, hopeful. The floors reflect the morning light, like a promise to myself. I sweep again, careful not to miss a single grain. Each stroke feels like a small oath to myself. The boot I polish sits clean, almost holy. I hear the distant highway, a ribbon of certainty outside my window. My reflection nods back, a quiet ally in exile. The untouched slice of cake waits on the counter for no one. Megan's bills arrive like pawns in a chess game that demand respect. The mailbox coughs up notices as if to prove a point. I hear Dad's voice in a phone line, careful and unsure. He won't say it aloud, but pride hides in his breath. The bank stamp returns, sealing something I barely notice. I turn the stamp over in my palm, grounding myself for the next breath. Megan's world unravels faster than her clever mouth. The bills arrive like a chorus she can't tune. I keep the rhythm steady, a metronome of boundaries for my days and nights. Quietly, a door opens in Megan's world and shuts. Later, he finds me in the kitchen again. He tells me with a voice low enough to hear. Pride threads through his words, not loud, but true. He admits the guilt of years slipping away. I listen, nod, and let the quiet carry us forward. In that moment, a soft relief lands on my shoulders. The day's light softens, like wool over a wound stitched with relief. I brew tea, steam curling, a pale translucent ribbon. I count breaths between kettle and clock, steady as rain. The kitchen smells of lemon and old photographs. I pour and sip, listening to the tiny universe inside that breathes with me. The boot shines, untouched by worry or mud. A subtle bell rings from the front door, then silence returning. I trace the line of the grainy countertop. The untouched slice of cake remains, a quiet trophy. I tell myself the truth is not a weapon. Night roots call outside, a quiet highway of possibility just beyond the glass. I know I can live without their approval. Peace exists here, in breath, in spacing, in boundaries kept. I pass the door again and step into tonight. Tomorrow the road will stay steady, even if it's alone. And I will tell Ben the truth, with gentleness. I will speak softly, when the time is right. The cake and boot will keep watch as symbols. If loneliness comes, I will welcome it with purpose. I wipe the counter again, leave a clean mark behind. A soft sigh escapes, and the door seems to breathe with me. The scene closes on the quiet floor, the boot pristine, the cake untouched. The night air cools my face and settles questions. I let the silence fill gaps I used to shout through. My phone lies forgotten on the counter, buzzing elsewhere. The cake remains, but I do not crave its sweetness anymore. I learn to savor the ordinary light of a morning. A soft wind climbs the stairwell, brushing my skin. Ben's future glints, a question, and a possibility. I imagine him listening to this same story someday. I want him to hear kindness, not rage. The bank ledger closes with an almost ceremonial click. I stamp a quiet boundary across the doorframe of memory. I hear the distant siren of a passing car. It reminds me mercy can travel without permission. The sunlight climbs the blinds, throwing patient gold into the room. I decide to walk the quiet road again tomorrow. Not as sister against sister, but I against fear. The boot gleams, the cake awaits its fate elsewhere. Tonight I rest, with the gentle ache of freedom. The old clock ticks its patient mercy on me. Tomorrow's errands feel lighter, even though I carry less. I breathe, and a small courage returns, steady as dawn. The scene pauses, not ends, with a promise kept inside. My reflection smiles, knowing the road has room for me, and the door closes gently on dependence, not on love. The final frame holds stillness, a doorway toward a kinder dawn. I breathe again, listening for the truth beneath the quiet. The numbers on the ledger fade to mere memory. I step toward the future, boots clean, heart heavier with care.